Today we have Anthony Bennie, and he's started the Clear Conscience Pet. So we're going to find out what that's all about. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Deborah.
Well, what made you come up with this? What got you into this in the first place?
Well, I have a background of about 20 years, it's up to about 20 years now, in animal nutrition. And I spent a major part of the beginning of that process, helping to build a natural pet food company as an independent associate. And what I came to realize was that even though we were making good quality foods, that we were missing a really important part of what I felt as if was the not only nutritional but spiritual element of the equation. And that element for me was, why are we feeding our dogs and cats with animals that have not been treated properly? So in my mind, it was like, wait a minute, we're treating our dogs and cats as family, as well we should. They're sleeping in our beds at times. We have birthday parties for them, buy them gifts. And on the other hand, we are not looking at how the animals on the farm are being treated, or we're not looking enough at that issue, not only from a moral standpoint, but also from a health standpoint. And so that started an exploration for me where I went out and started to kind of rebuild my career in the pet products industry. I wanted to work from a standpoint of saying, what does a true clear conscience come from when it comes to feeding our animals? And I realized, at least in my mind, that we were missing the equation of saying, if the animals who are the source of our food are treated well, and not as companions, but treated with respect and dignity, that they will reward us with healthier food, and we will create a more full and complete spiritual sphere between us, our companion animals, and the animals that help to support mankind and have for tens of thousands of years. It's not only about how we treat the animals that we use in part of our agricultural world, it's also what we wind up with at the end of that process, and the toxins that will build in the body, not only from the stress levels, as you point out so properly, as well as the substances that we put into their bodies because we're raising them unnaturally. So if you have a 2,000-pound cow or steer that's being kept in a 10 by 10 enclosure and never has interaction with other animals properly, but they're all crammed together, they're going to get sick a lot more often. So we're going to give them antibiotics constantly. Those antibiotics are going to be in their system, and then we're going to eat that meat, and we're going to become immune to those antibiotics, and they won't work for us when we get sick. Again, that comes back to what Clear Conscience Pet was about, is kind of trying to bring that responsible sense of stewardship over animals as opposed to using them. I don't believe that we own our pets. I believe that we are stewards of their well-being, and I feel the same way about agricultural animals. It's a responsibility. They can't do these things for themselves. So therefore, if we're going to be in a position that we run their lives, we should do it properly.
We're talking about, pet products and feeding your pet without poisoning it. So let's go, Anthony. Give it to us. How do you make sure your pet food is healthy?
Well, the Clear Conscience line is a selection of treats and food enhancers. The food enhancer is called Super Gravy. So we're not doing the daily food part of the diet because we really felt as if the treat part of the diet was where the worst abuses were taking place, because you have a lot of that body part type material that winds up as kind of stuff that's on the slaughterhouse floor and gets scraped together, and I know it sounds a little gross, and it turns into pet treats. So what I wanted to do was, after 14 years in the food part of the industry, when I started Clear Conscience, I wanted to address this really gaping need that we had to improve the treats. So what I did was actually go to meet the farmers and ranchers that were raising their animals properly and make deals with them to buy stuff from them that they weren't really selling before, or they were giving away practically, and making a promise to them, if you'll save this stuff and treat it like human food in terms of the safety and segregating it, freezing it properly, I'll buy it from you, and I'll give you twice or three times as much as you would have been getting from the waste stream, so to speak. And now we're going to have a sustainable model where we're going to help you to sustain your grass-feeding farm by buying things that you weren't getting money for before. The animals respond amazingly to it, because I believe that on a spiritual level, and this is going to sound strange, but I'll go ahead and say it, I believe that on a spiritual level, our companion animals understand that they're eating meat that comes from animals that were also treated properly. And
You know what? I don't think that's so strange. When you think that a dog can smell an epileptic seizure coming, they can smell the chemicals in the body that indicate that. They can smell when a diabetic kid's sugar level is off and alert the parents. That same dog knows the difference between a breakdown and a heart attack. It can smell the enzyme in the blood. Why wouldn't it be able to smell all these toxins and everything else we've been talking about in the meat? I mean, why wouldn't it?
That's a great point. And you know what? Thank you for sharing that with me, because that's a really smart way to put it. It's spiritual, but it's also physiological. Our dogs and cats are so smart, and their sense of smell, like you said, is powerful beyond our understanding. And I think that this response that we see, I mean, the letters that we get and the the emails are, I've never seen my dog or cat respond to a product like they do to your products. And I've been in this industry for a long time selling very good products. So obviously that makes us feel good because we're getting that kind of response, but it also means we're touching on something that's deeper than we even realize. I always say, look at the outside of your dog or your cat to get a glimpse into the inside. If your dog or cat doesn't look good on the outside and their coat is flat and greasy and it doesn't have that gloss or softness, you're not giving that animal the proper nutrition. And you find that constantly with high grain and high carbohydrate diets like the grocery commercial type brands. So the good news is that over the last several years, as the holistic and natural pet food revolution has taken hold, we've kind of step by step, we've tried to take chemicals out of the products. We've improved them little by little, but we've kind of come to this conclusion that, gosh, let's get back to, and we were better off when our grandparents were feeding our dogs horse meat, and that's not a very popular opinion. I'm not looking to do horse meat, believe me, but
no, I understand. Okay,
they were getting meat, though. They were getting meat,
That's
and
right.
they were healthy,
And
and you hear all the time.
I want to talk about this in the next segment. We'll be back to talk about why your grandmother's dog seems so healthy and so fit and lives so much longer than your dog. We'll be back on All Paws Pet Talk Radio with Deb Wolf. I'm your doggy. My guest today is Anthony Bennie, and his company, Clear Conscience Pet, will help you give your dog and cat treats that won't involve all kinds of processed chemicals, hormones, and stuff from China. We never even got to that yet. Why you like American-sourced products.
About 5 years ago, in 2007, as many people remember, we had the most serious recall of pet foods that's ever taken place in this country. And it was traced back to protein additives from China, and it exposed a dirty little secret that U.S. companies were buying a lot of ingredients from these Chinese sources because of the low cost, and then incorporating them into products without any labeling. There's no legal requirement that says if you have a Chinese ingredient but you make the product in the USA that you have to say that. So it doesn't mean that there's something evil or wrong about China in and of itself, but the problem is that there's not anywhere near the level of control and oversight over the agricultural industry in China as there is here, and we know that they're very dedicated to have a huge trade imbalance, so that their economy becomes strong and ours becomes weaker. And when my industry was affected by it, I was deeply, it was a personal affront to me. I said, here we are, we're neglecting our own farmers and meat producers by not buying products from them, and then we're making it even worse by buying stuff that now has turned out to be adulterated with a poison from overseas. So now it's coming back again, and there's a huge hue and cry right now, and anyone who wants to go online and just put in the search terms chicken, jerky, and China, it's becoming a huge firestorm of concern, because there are a lot of animals getting sick right now as we speak, and nobody's really finding out exactly why it's happening, but there are several class action lawsuits. So for me, it's as Yogi Berra says, it's deja vu all over again. And my answer to it is just don't do it.
And you can't tell anymore. How do you tell?
Yeah, that's the tricky part, and this is where it's going to get a little difficult, because you have to get to know companies, and in this day and age, people say, well, you just can't trust anyone. Well, my gosh, we have to trust somebody. We need to have companies that put their reputation on the line and say, here's what we'll do and what we won't do.
How do people find you? Because we've totally run out of time. Where can they find you on the internet?
Go to clearconsciencepet.com. That's conscience, CONSCIENCE, not conscious.
Okay.
And it'll tell you all about our stuff, tell you where to buy our products. We're available on Amazon. We're available on our own website and in lots of wonderful independent retail stores, and that list is on our website as well. And it tells you the entire story of our product line. And I guarantee.
Well, thank you for joining me today, Anthony. It's been a pleasure. I'm so glad you came.
Thank you so much for having me, Deb.
All right, everybody. That was Anthony Bennie for All Talk Pet Talk Radio. Stay tuned.